What is going on, everybody? Today we are going to be talking about Watchdogs. I am accompanied by Albert Johnson, if you remember him. He's a former YouTuber now. He let his channel go, Chunky Monkey, due to things and events in his life. But on with Watchdogs. Albert, give me your thoughts. I'm going to let you start off first because I know you have a lot to get off your chest on Watchdogs.
Yeah, we have I'll try to savor some of it because there is a lot to say and I don't want to just jumble everything together and confuse the audience because they're different genres. So first of all, I'll say that the game is really good. It set aside some of the problems, some of the weird, funky mechanics like the driving. It's a pretty good game with everything it presents you with. There's a lot of content. I mean, I've been playing it almost non-stop since it came out last Tuesday.
Right.
And I think right now I'm about 84% full completion. But I mean, they have a lot of stuff to do. With that said, some things do get kind of repetitive, and I've gotten into some arguments on Reddit with some people about some of the things that do become repetitive. So I mean, it's completely your opinion. If you like some of the missions that they have you do, like some 40 driving fixer missions, I mean, they definitely give you enough content. But whether or not it becomes repetitive to people, you know, it just depends on the person. Yeah, it depends on what kind of gamer you are.
So I have a question because I'm basically going to live stream it to completion, basically as a live stream series. When you completed it, like at least the campaign, how much was what's the progress on that as far as the?
You know, I honestly
rate?
don't remember. If I had to take a guess, I would say around. Here, I'll be safe, and I'll say it was between 40 and 60 because there's a lot of things. Like they have 40 fixer missions. I think they have 18 criminal convoys.
And these are all campaign missions, right? Not side.
Well, no, those are side missions. So actually, if we go with just campaign, I would say you're definitely going to be over 40% complete. Then you have a good chunk of side missions. There's like, as I said, 40 fixer. There's 20 crimes, just like random crimes. There's 18 criminal convoys, and there's 15 gang hideouts. So you're looking at least another 20% added there, so that'll put you around 60. Then you have things like collectibles. I know there are some CTOS breaches. There are some privacy invasions. Mainly, what's going to take up a lot are the hotspots.
Yeah.
It's not going to take up too many, but I mean there are a lot of them. Here, let's see. I'm actually in the game right now. I can tell you how many there are. City hotspots, there are 100. So you would think that it would take up a lot, but as I said, I'm at 84%, and I only have 13 out of 100. But there's that's something I'll probably never finish doing because there are so many of them, and it just doesn't really interest me. It doesn't provide any extra stuff to the story. It's just kind of scenery and background information of places in Chicago.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you some questions about the characters. From what I gather, at least as far as I am, the main characters is Aiden, Clara, Damian Brinks, and I'm just now reaching Mr. Iraq. I don't know how major he is. I think he's just a stepping stone to get to Damian as far as, you know, deep in the story. Right. Are these any characters that you find memorable after this game is all done and said? Will you think you go back and like, oh, I remember Aiden Pierce. I don't know if they're going to make a sequel to Watch Dogs. It probably will since it's the fastest selling game in Ubisoft's history. Definitely. Though it irks me to say that they didn't really specify, you know, how many it sold versus what other games that, you know, sold previously. So
right, what they're comparing it to.
Yeah.
Which I'm guessing is something like Far Cry and Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, I figured Assassin's Creed, but, you know, do you feel like Aiden's a memorable character to you or somebody that you just enjoy the game with but you'll never really think much about him?
I definitely think he's memorable. I think he could have been more memorable, and I know that's kind of an argument because you could say that about literally anyone, but Aiden had some good lines. I like his personality. He's a very vengeful person. They make that pretty clear. Even in the very beginning, he can't let Lena's death go.
He can't.
And
that's his niece.
And mini spoiler, like as soon as his sister's taken, you know, he becomes immediately all about that. So he kind of gets swarmed in all these different things. He's very smart. He knows how to handle things. He knows how to play people. He knows how to break people. He's definitely a memorable character, but they kind of, I don't know, even throughout the whole game, I couldn't really figure out what I didn't like about him. I just felt like something wasn't right. Like maybe he just needed a little bit more. But as far as the other characters go, I mean, they were all pretty good. I actually liked Jordy a lot. He was definitely a good character. Even his sister, the only people that I really didn't think had as good of a role in the game were Lucky Quinn and the kid Jax. I get that Jax he doesn't say much. He only really talks to his mom because of his sister's death. So you can see he's emotionally kind of scarred by it.
Oh,
but,
you got me there. I have no idea who that is.
Oh, really? Yeah, see, Jax is he's Aiden's nephew. He was in the car when everything happened in the very beginning of the game, and he just becomes completely scarred after his sister's death, and he doesn't talk to anyone except for his mom. Even in the game, I think there's maybe 2 or 3 times he even says anything to Aiden. And he just, I don't know. I mean, if that's what they were going for, they did a good job of showing how, messed up this kid is. Yeah, exactly. But other than that, I was just like, Lucky Quinn has a decent part. I don't know. His character just didn't do it for me. Like they needed to change his personality, and he's supposed to be this know-it-all mobster kind of guy. Been in the game for a long time.
That's how I kind of feel about Jordy.
Yeah, even Jordy, I think I liked his voice actor. His voice actor really brought his character to life. But he's just kind of he's doesn't really care about anything. He just does everything for money. But his personality just really brought the character to life. So.
And what about Aiden Pierce? I thought he had that Christian Bale kind of Batman Dark Knight voice kind of going on from time to time.
He does, and that kind of confuses me because some of the dialogue in the game, like when you steal someone's car or if you're shooting at things, his voice doesn't really sound the same as it does during the campaign, and that I don't really know what's up with that. Yeah, exactly. It's something like that. It's not as bad as some of them that I've experienced in games like actually, you mentioned Batman. I'm actually talking about the Batman games, Batman Arkham City.
Oh, the actual
yeah, the actual video game. There was this is getting slightly off topic, but the voice actor for Booker DeWitt, Troy Baker.
Yeah.
He voices Robin, and he did a really good job voicing him in the main game. But if anyone played Harley Quinn's DLC, they'll know that he sounds just like Booker DeWitt. He doesn't sound like Robin anymore, like he did in the main story.
Yeah, because he might have put in that persona.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that going on in this game. There's some parts that aren't consistent, but overall, the characters I would say are decent. They have good moments. They have good dialogue at times. Actually, a character who has a really good voice actor play him, and he's just a good character overall, is actually Maurice. When you learn more about Maurice, and if you do some of the audio log missions, you get to learn more about Maurice and kind of where he came from, and you listen to him talk. Those are actually really well done. So Maurice might be my favorite character, just because he felt the most alive.
Okay, because right now I'm dealing with Maurice, and he's just being kept alive by Jordy for Aiden, for him to deal with him later on. All right, I have another question now. What about controls? How do you feel about the game's controls?
I'm used to them now, so it's hard to say. But actually, in the very beginning, I didn't like the fact that you couldn't jump. I thought that was kind of weird, because it plays like an Assassin's Creed game, but you can't jump.
Yeah, I felt the same way about that. Like, it felt kind of awkward when I'm running with him, but I couldn't jump. I always hit the X button or the square button to kind of make him jump, because I'm just so used to that mechanic from basically playing open world games like Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead Redemption, and you just have a jump button as a character who has an open environment to explore. But I guess the circle button is more like to make up for it, because you just climb on objectives and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I became used to it really quickly, because as you said, you can climb a lot of things. I got used to not pressing A for me, because I'm using the Xbox controller, and that makes you, hide behind cover and stuff like that.
Oh god, that cover system is horrible to me. I hate it.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't bother me too much. But as I said, that's after I got used to it. Right away, I kept messing up, and it was getting really annoying, and I was getting frustrated because you hold the right trigger down to run like Assassin's Creed, so you would expect all the other controls to be very similar, and I guess they didn't want it to be that way. Just for argument's sake, they didn't want to make it a lot like Assassin's Creed. I know before this came out, a lot of people were worried that it was basically going to be like that kind of engine, but a different IP. So the controls, I don't mind them now that I'm used to them, but they definitely take some getting used to.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like with the cover system, because I guess I'm so used to playing Gears, because Gears has a really refined cover system.
Yeah, that's...
And I actually tried to, like, when you tap A, or for me it's X on the PS4, he snaps onto the wall, but then when I try to back him off, like move the analog, he won't like snap off the wall.
Right.
So then you got the big guy with the armor walking towards you. I'm like, come on, run, Aiden, run, Aiden. And he's blasting me up, and boom, I'm dead. I'm like, oh, what the hell?
I know what you mean about that. And, I mean, anytime you take a cover system out of any game, I feel like it'll never be as good as Gears of War,
unless it's mimic it.
Yeah, yeah. Gears of War has a very, very memorable cover system, and it's one of the best, if not the best. Probably my favorite out of all the games I've ever played.
I agree. It's the best cover system in any game today. It's refined. It's optimized. It feels like it's right for what it is. And I guess when you get skillful with it, you can wall bounce.
You can become a ninja. It's very fluid, and this game is not really like that at all. Sadly, you find a spot to hide, you stay there, and that's it.
All right. So most blog websites gave it an overall score around 7.8 to 8.5 ish. Do you think those scores are about right? Sounds about right to you?
For their reasons, I think they're different from mine. As I said, this game is pretty decent, but I felt like it just could have had a little bit more, and that's kind of what held it back for me. I mean, I don't really like rating systems because they base it off of a lot of different things every single time with every different game. Right. So I think that a rating system, like if I were to say I give Watchdogs an 8, that lets people know without like actually saying for what reasons. It lets people know it's a pretty good game.
Yeah, so that's how overall good game.
Exactly, and that's how I agree with rating systems. When they start deducting points, like I see something get an 8.3, I'm like, what were those little decimal points that you didn't like, and how has that worked out? And there's just no real.
They can say things like, the drive mechanics wasn't that bad. The controls, like I didn't like how L3 was to reload because it's so wonky and feels so awkward.
Oh yeah, no, I hated that. Like that. I understood why they did that, but I hated it.
I hate it. Like I hate it with a burning passion well because I instinctively press square from playing so many first-person shooters to reload the gun, and I'm like, all right, reload. I run him out there. He starts to reload, and I'm getting blasted. Like, oh, what are you doing, Aiden?
Even that, like with Splinter Cell Blacklist, I really loved that game, and it took me some getting used to I think it was R3, which is the right analog stick. You click in that to reload in that game. I could be wrong, it might be left analog stick, but I actually think it's right. And I was used to that. I was like, oh, it's a similar feature like that, but I would keep forgetting that right analog stick in this game is to do the focus mode. So I'd be putting myself in slow motion when I'm trying to reload, so that did take some getting used to. So overall, the controls are okay. They're kind of wonky. After you get used to them, it's no problem.
It's not that bad.
But yeah, overall,
do you take advantage of the focus mode a lot?
Sometimes. I mean, when I would do a lot of the missions stealthily, so doing it stealthily, you kind of have to make sure no one gets alerted. But I actually didn't put a whole lot of points into them until the very end of the game when I was trying to get all the skills.
Oh, okay.
It's definitely useful.
I'm the complete opposite. I'd rather do everything just running guns blazing. So as soon as I go on the spot, if I can, if possible, if I know I'm not gonna die, I'm like, what, screw it. It's because I found like it's just easier. Like I gotta, hack this camera to that camera to bounce to that guy, and it's like you're searching for an access code. If I basically alert everybody, the guy with the access codes come towards you. You don't have to seek him out, and then you just kill him and do what you got to do. I mean, that's just my style. Most people would probably opt to the stealth style because you get to see obviously all the cool hacking things that the game is meant for. But I'm so, like I said, I'm coming from GTA 5, so I know how to work the cover system. Once you get adapt to it, I take cover. I usually let the enemies come to you, and it's like an auto lock-on system, so it's really easy to kill enemies. Just take an AK or a shotgun for close quarters, and as soon as Aiden or your character pokes his head up, it's gonna lock onto the enemy's chest. Once they come in waves. The only thing you just have to do in that game, which it makes it a little bit harder, is that they call for backup, so you may have more waves of them coming. You just got to make sure you either jam his radio or kill him before he makes that call. Which I kind of like it though, because it adds like another level of difficulty,
Yeah, I would always let them call it. That was actually the very last skill I acquired, was the disable enemy reinforcements, because I always wanted to kill more people, get more points.
Yeah, more skill points and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
I got to get more notoriety because I haven't really been investing time into that. When you do like the hacker missions.
See, that was something I did right away. I tried to do some crimes, but I didn't really do it on purpose. I just noticed that it would pop up on my screen. I'd be like, sure, I'll go stop this crime. So pretty much the entire game, my crime bar was all the way positive, which is vigilante. So I never really had the cops called on me that much when people saw me. If I started firing guns, I'd say half the time they would call, but they wouldn't call immediately. So I really don't even know what the game's like to be completely evil. So I know that some of the achievements, the best way to do it is by killing a lot of people, and you have to escape a level 5 CTOS scan. Yeah. So eventually I'll get there and I'll know what it's like, but I am kind of interested to see how that goes. I feel like it's going to be a lot harder with people calling the police on me all the time. But ultimately, I mean, that's what this game could be about. This game, we'll get to it, it has a lot of mixed feelings when it comes to like choices and who lives, who gets exposed, who dies, things like that. So the game, I guess that's why they did it. it would feel a lot more, I guess, real if everyone was always calling the cops on you. You're this wooden vigilante, but at the same time, some of them
really
can root for you. So
I actually thought that was pretty cool, that the fact that you can't walk down the street with a gun in your hand and people just look at you like. That's the one thing I kind of give it over Grand Theft Auto. Like, you can walk around with a giant rocket launcher in your hand, and as long as you don't shoot it, nobody's gonna bother you. Even you can walk in front of a cop with a gun, he won't bother you. I like the fact that you have to holster your gun and not in order to be harassed by citizens, because they're like, oh my god, he has a gun. Somebody call the cops. And I thought that was pretty cool. When somebody actually called the cops, I'm like, oh, you asshole, I'm gonna kill you for that. But that was cool.
Yeah. That's another cool thing. I actually noticed this the other day. I always used the C2S jammers to stop calls, but you can actually run up to him and he'll like rip the phone out of their hand and throw it on the ground.
Oh, nice.
And he'll be like, put the phone down, and they get like scared. And I was just sitting there laughing like, man, I didn't know you could do that.
All right, so here's another question for you. Have you found like any inconsistencies in the game?
Yes. There's been, the one I actually mentioned it to you when we were talking. There was a C2S breach mission where you have to basically hack one box, and that leads you to a couple more boxes, and those can be really frustrating. I get what they were going for. They try to make you really think, and they make you walk like 50 feet in the opposite direction to get to like a lift, and you take the lift up, and that gives you access to a camera. That can be kind of frustrating.
Yeah,
but
I definitely know. I had a piece of that.
Yeah, the biggest one I had was it led me all the way to this like car dealership, and then once I got inside, the trail just stopped. So I was looking around inside the building for this box that wasn't there. It took me about 10-15 minutes until I walked outside the building and started running in a circle around it, and I finally found the box outside. And I was like, how am I supposed to figure out that the box is outside when the line led me to the inside?
Maybe that was a design flaw that you explained earlier.
Yeah, it could be they wanted it to be that difficult. It could be they just kind of screwed something up. I don't really know. But I mean, as far as that inconsistency goes, that's pretty much all I really had to say about it.
I found one that's pretty funny. I don't know if nobody noticed. I remember the scene when he got himself, purposely arrested. He went inside the precinct with a gun and got himself arrested with the cops.
Yeah.
The guy snuck him his cell phone, and he replaced his name from Aiden Pierce to Joe Smith.
Yes.
So, you got your phone, you hack yourself out of the cell, you're supposed to sneak past the cops and go where you're supposed to go. So when I took down a cop, I noticed he pulled out his stick to beat, to take somebody down. I'm thinking to myself, like, hold up. Didn't the security confiscate everything that he has on his person? How was he able to do that? Like,
I
pull out that.
Noticed that.
He pulled out that weapon and just like, bloop, and hit him down. I'm like, hold up. I thought he was going to like quietly choke him out, put him to sleep. But I noticed he kind of beat him down with the stick. So I'm like, wait a second. I think they made a mistake there.
Yeah, that would be an inconsistency. That would definitely be one.
Yeah, it's nothing major like to take away from the game. It's just something that I just thought about because if you're going to maximum security, besides him getting his phone snuck to him, it was just kind of funny.
They didn't want to change the whole, I guess, add in it would take more time and money to make a different move for him. So I guess they were trying to avoid that. But little things like that always stand out in a game, especially for prequels where you play a prequel like Batman or God of War, and there's always like a new weapon that you don't have in the future. Things they're like they don't take away, but you remember them.
It's just something you can laugh at. It's nothing to harm the game whatsoever.
While we're talking about the prison scene, though, I will put this out there. I'm not 100% sure, and I didn't actually look anywhere. It was just from me noticing it. I think that the actual prison scene is the same setup as in Assassin's Creed 3. I'm almost positive, but I'm not quite sure. Like if you remember in Assassin's Creed 3, Connor gets captured and he's in prison, and it has that multi-layer system, and you go downstairs, you like play chess or whatever it is with the guy, but they have that same structure of a prison. Now I'm sure that's how prisons are actually structured, so maybe it's just a coincidence, but as I was playing it, I was like, this really seems like Assassin's Creed-like. I mean, obviously with the more rooms and that you have to sneak through, that's I guess different because I don't remember doing that in Assassin's Creed. But the multi-layer, I was like, this looks and resembles everything that I remember from the prison scene in Assassin's Creed 3. So
I believed I stopped at Assassin's Creed 2 halfway, and that's when I kind of felt the super repetitiveness of the game. So after 2, then I've basically left the franchise alone.
They've added more, and I'll leave it at this. They've added more that it's worth playing, but they definitely, like the core things from 1 and 2, they've continued and they're still there.
Yeah, I heard Brotherhood picked up really well, but then I just was so
I never
invested
played
in
it.
something else.
Yeah, I never touched it. So I'm not sure if it's the same kind of blueprint as the one from Assassin's Creed, but maybe in a couple months some other people will have wondered the same thing or thought the same thing. There might be some more information on it.
All right, so I'm gonna express my thoughts on how I feel about Watchdogs. So at first, playing the story, I'm looking for the story to basically engage me in, and it was really slow. So at first I'm like, all right, what's going on? I'm not really understanding, and then it starts to pick up once Nikki got kidnapped, then the story kind of I started getting involved into the story.
Right.
Besides that, the drive mechanics, as you stated earlier, it's kind of bad, but it is what it is. You know what I mean?
It's tolerable.
Yeah, it's tolerable. It's not really all that. It's not all that great. For what it's worth, I feel like the missions get really interesting when you have to do the multi-camera hack to infiltrate something, to hack something from there to there to there. I think that's unique to Watch Dogs that you can't get anywhere else. But
definitely
outside of that, the way you have to do combat, I feel like it's just kind of generic. If I have to go here, would you give me the option to use the camera to step to the guy or just kind of kill him? I just feel like it's really easy. Me personally, I mean, everybody, I've heard different responses from different people and reading comments also from IGN. Some people say the cops are a killer. I personally didn't have that much of a hard time escaping the cops because I kind of paid attention to the the little help menu that pops up, and once you get out of the scan area or if you jam it, it's really easy to escape.
I agree.
Once you get that, and they're just oh, we lost track of him, and they'll just simply go away.
I agree.
Comparing to GTA 5, you really have to get away from the cops. There's no indication to tell you that you're actually getting away because they can easily just spawn out of nowhere and constantly harass you. So it just made it that much. It put me that much more edge. With this game, I have a clear-cut view of how to avoid them. Get them out of my sight, hack a bar or some spikes, make them crash, get out of the scan area, I've escaped. Clear cut. So I felt like that made it a lot easier for me to basically escape the cops. So I have no issues with that. The profile, he pulls, you press the square button. I guess for you is X because you're using the X controller. I think that's really unique. You can hack people's bank accounts. I like the fact that you can see their name, their face, their occupation,
everybody,
what they do. I think that's really cool. I like stuff like that.
Definitely, yeah. And that's, as I just said, that it happens for every person in the game. There's not one NPC in this world that you can't profile and see how much they make, their name, their hobbies, things like that.
Except for Aiden. You can't profile himself.
Except for Aiden, yep. Yeah. If you look at Aiden through a camera,
yeah, he's
just all distorted.
Well, that being said, now this is, like I said, this is me harshly judging the game because, like I said, I've played GTA 5 and I compare this game. I'm comparing it heavily to GTA 5. It's kind of unfair, but they're the same type of game, so that's why I'm judging it. And I feel like the bar has been set really high, from coming from GTA to Watch Dogs. Not taking anything away from the game, but the story is not doing it as much for me. Now, like I said, now that Nikki has been kidnapped, I've been to it more, but when I thought about how it started off with Trevor, Michael, and Franklin, how they were basically gangsters robbing a bank, and Trevor thought Michael was dead, and Franklin got into the mix, it was just I was hooked, especially when you complete your first heist. I'm not getting that same kind of effect like, oh, I gotta play Watch Dogs. Now, keep in mind that I got Watch Dogs the Friday before it came out. Watch Dogs came out with the 27th of May. That was a Tuesday. Yep. I got it a few days before, and you actually completed the game before me.
Yeah.
And you got the day of its release, correct?
Yes, that is right. So I also had to experience the Uplay client problems, so...
Yeah, because you got the PC version. Me, the console, I just kind of dumped it in and go. Now, it's kind of evidence that I like it, but I'm not as much into it, because if you look at my streams, the longest stream I had of Watch Dogs is about 3 hours. Grand Theft Auto, I done had a 7-hour stream and a 2-hour stream behind that. That's how madly, addicted to the game it was.
Right.
Now, that being said, I agree with most blogs giving it around the 8.4, 8.5 score. I think that game is really worth that, because if it was flipped vice versa and this game released before GTA 5, this game would have actually got a much higher rating,
Yeah, I agree with that. I think people are definitely comparing it to Grand Theft Auto, and it's very hard not to. I haven't even played GTA 5, but I know how well it was received by everybody. I know it sold crazy copies. I know that people loved the story and just everything that you could do. It felt very alive, and because I haven't played it, I can't really compare it too much, but I would agree with that. I think if it came out before Grand Theft Auto, everyone would have, I guess, received it more. And then when GTA 5 came out, then it probably would have been a little bit better, because as you said, if you think that it set the bar higher, if it comes out before Watch Dogs, then exactly, everyone's going to look at it and be like, it's not as good, but it's still everyone's opinion. I mean, it definitely brings new features that obviously you can't do in Grand Theft Auto, but It comes down to just everybody's opinion. I like the fact that you can hack all the different things. I like that it's got a little bit of max pain in there where you can like go into focus mode and slow everything down.
Yeah, what did you think about that mode, right? I mean, that mechanic, actually. I forgot the actual question about that. That's what I had in my mind.
It was good. As I said, for when I did stealth missions, I used it a lot just so people wouldn't become aware and get spotted, because there are actually some missions where you get more skill points if you do it stealthily rather than, just go in and shoot everybody and get caught.
Oh, okay.
So I think those are the criminal convoy, or not criminal convoy, I'm sorry, the gang hideouts. If you do the gang hideouts, which are side missions, if you do those without alerting anyone, you get 2 skill points rather than just 1. So focus mode definitely can help you out there.
I always forget. It's funny. I'm so used to the GTA style of doing things. I constantly forget I can focus. Only time I seem to remember is when those dudes with the armor come chasing me down, even though I'm letting off 10 rounds and I'm like, oh my god, I feel like I'm gonna die. Then I actually let me focus now.
One thing as I said, I haven't played GTA 5, but one thing that I really like about this world is that it feels very alive. Like games like Sleeping Dogs, I love the driving in Sleeping Dogs. It's very easy. It's a good open world game. I don't really try to compare it to Grand Theft Auto because it's not Grand Theft Auto. So that's what I try to do with this game too. And I really liked how this game, you'll see people like they get on a bench, they sit down, maybe they lay down to sleep on it, like in one kind of motion, but you never really know. They could just end up sitting on it. There are different things they can do. See people knocking on doors, trying to talk to people. They're trimming bushes, weed eating.
Yeah, I like how the fact that they interact with each other. Like you can see a couple flirting for a little while. She's getting mad. I even seen a one funny situation where this lady and this guy was arguing with each other. Like, so you're gonna hit me now? He's like, don't tip me, and he cursed out. He's like, don't tip me, I'm gonna hit you. And then he actually smacked out. Like, wow, that was actually interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of interactions that go on. The only and we'll get to this. This comes with the multiplayer a little bit. The only thing I had against it was that when it does come to multiplayer, it's hard to make yourself blend. It's not as good, I would say, as the Assassin's Creed multiplayer, where you can like sit on the benches and kind of do the same motions as other people. In this, you kind of have to basically walk next to the other NPCs that are walking to try and blend.
It's easy. Yeah. But when you're online, nobody character looks like Aiden Pearce. They actually look like an NPC character to you, but you're Aiden Pearce, correct?
Correct. So if you and I were playing and I was trying to hack your game, in my game, I'm going to look like Aiden, and in your game, you're going to look like Aiden.
Ah, okay.
So in your game, if I'm invading you, I will look like a random NPC. But if it were the other, well, actually, no, in that same game, it's the other way around. To me, you look like a random NPC. So whoever is playing, that person will always look like Aiden.
Yeah, and then the opponent is basically gonna look like a regular NPC.
Yep, it's always gonna.
Until you profile them, and they're like, all right, cool. That's the human player that's basically trying to hack you or do whatever he's trying to do to you.
Yep.
So how do you think the online game? You think it's pretty decent, half-assed, or this game could quite frankly do without it?
I mean, it definitely adds to the game. I have actually a lot to say.
Of it.
The way online
it links into the world.
It definitely, it's cool how you can just randomly be doing something and get invaded. For people who don't like that, you can turn it off. The only thing I don't like about turning it off is that I've done it so much now that I'm about halfway maxed out for the app. And
for your notoriety?
For my notoriety. I think it goes up to, I want to say it goes up to like 11,000. I think right now I'm around 5. And if you turn it off, if I were to turn it off now, it resets me back to 0.
Really?
So that's the one thing I don't like. It's either like, hey, keep this on if you want to not lose all your perks, or, we're going to reset all your stats.
Okay, so I did not know that. So if you turn it off and you reset, how do you gain notoriety from that point on?
I guess you don't. I would think I think you have to turn it back on. And I think actually if you turn it off, you're not going to be able to play on, like, you can't hack other people. And I think they were trying to prevent people from like hitting the max level and being like, okay, now that I'm here, no one else can come in and take some away. Because every time you get invaded and the other person, the opponent succeeds, that actually takes points away from you. So it's not like what you get, you keep. It actually will deduct your score. And that's one of the huge problems that I have, because the matches that I've been getting into, anytime that I get sent into a decent game, which is like a potential gain of like 250 points, potential loss 250 points, that's a decent game. It's a 50-50 chance. And every time I find a game like that, it fails to join every single time, no matter what. I can't join to it. So as far as I've made it right now, I would say, well, at least 80% of the games I've played, the most points that I've gotten from succeeding is 50. And I run the risk of losing like 300.
Wow,
so
that's not even worth the game.
Yeah, no, it's really bad. And usually I skip them and try to find one. And every time I find one, it doesn't connect me to it. It just fails to join. So the online for me is kind of broken. I mean, I could say a lot more. I've experienced a lot with it. I have had some games where it does work, but most of the time it doesn't. I don't know what the problem is there, but they need to get on it. I'm suspecting that people online are cheating. I've had some cases where people have come up to me. Yeah, no,
it hasn't even been a full week yet. Tomorrow will make a week.
I noticed this like the second day, and I was like, what is going on? Even my girlfriend was like, how can you cheat in this game? I was like, trust me, they'll find a way. And if you look at the leaderboards now, the top people in the leaderboards, their score is like 9999999, like 9,999,000. So obviously something's going on. And there have been times where people just like know, like they know exactly where I am. Like they didn't really look around. They just
spotted. Oh, okay.
And I'm just so it's bad. And I actually got into some arguments with people on Reddit because the online, as I kind of just said a few minutes ago, there's not enough. You can't interact and blend with people as well as you can in like Assassin's Creed. Like I can't sit on a bench. So when you well, that like not just that, but something as simple as that. I can't just sit down and act like
you're just reading a
an
book
NPC
or something like
who's
that,
also sitting on that bench. The best I can do, I think my first successful hack, and this was like day one, was standing next to a group of people who were taking a picture, and I think it was also because it was day one. No, like everyone was new to it. When it tells you you're being hacked, people panic.
And I'm like, what the hell? Yeah, it happened to me. I'm like, what the hell's going on? I could not find the guy at all.
See, I really like that. I like that it puts you on edge, and I panic too. I'm not good at finding people. I'm good at tailing people, and I'm good at evading. I'm not really good at successfully hacking, but I think that's because the lack of things to do, plus maybe some cheaters involved. But the some of the times that I've played, and the argument I got into was that literally you either sit in the car and hope that they don't find you, or you hide behind something. Like you press A and actually hide behind something. Every time that someone hacks me, that's what they're doing. And I'm just like, well, what else can you really do? I mean, I don't even turn the car off, because I've had so many times where I've turned the car off and then they find me. By the time I even try to restart the car, they just shoot me in the head and I'm dead.
Oh, damn.
So I don't even do that. What I try to do is, before they know I'm in the game, I like ram the front of my car into something, so I disable the headlights, and then I just kind of sit there and hope they don't notice the exhaust coming out. And that's the way that I try to go. These are all tips. I should be charging the audience. These are some tips. I also
Pro tips.
I take cars and I like create this giant traffic jam, but I take cars and I leave them like parked in the middle of the road, so eventually he'll see it and he'll be like, okay, that's the car he came out of. And meanwhile I'm like sitting in another car
and then
further down the road.
Throw them all off and it's getting hacked quicker.
It works. It works sometimes, but honestly, I've had a lot more games where I've gotten like 180 points from evading somebody.
Wow.
Than I have from like getting 50 points from actually
succeeding.
So yeah, the multiplayer needs some work. I do like the idea that they proposed. If you could kind of blend in with people more, I think it would be a lot better. I just feel like it wasn't really polished or refined. It was just kind of like, hey, we have this really cool idea, let's do it. And hopefully when the sequel comes, they will add a lot more there.
I can kind of agree with that, because I have a couple of friends who actually was getting frustrated with getting hacked, so they actually turned it off. So I'm like, there has to be well, you already stated to me there's a negative about it. Like I said, you lose your notoriety and then it's gone. And from what you can recall, you said that's it. You can't gain any notoriety perks unless you turn that back on.
Unless you turn it back on, right? I don't even think you can compete online. I don't think you can hack other people while it's turned off, because I think they see that, and it would be seen as like an unfair advantage. So I don't think you can actually do that. I have a friend who as well turned it off. He told me he wasn't even going to bother with it. And it can be frustrating sometimes. Like I've actually gotten to the main mission and I would press Y to start the mission, and it would pop up and it would say not available, and I know right then, I'm like, yep, somebody's in my game.
Oh man.
And then you go around. So it can be a little distracting, but overall I think it's a good experience. Like it definitely puts you on edge. It makes you become engaged. But if you're all like, if you get into some of my situations where you're really frustrated with like the amount of people hacking you and how unfair the scoring is, it can really get old quick, to the point where when someone hacks you, like you actually get mad. The biggest thing for me, and this is another reason to why I think the online is broken, When you hack somebody and you actually initiate it, right after initiating it, you have a blue circle of a radius that you have to stay in.
Yeah.
And obviously, the closer you get to 100%, the smaller the circle becomes.
Right.
Now, right before you initiate it, there's another giant circle that you're in on the map, surrounded by red, that shows where you have to be. And that circle depends on how close you are to the person you're hacking. So they could literally travel from one side of the map to the other. As long as you stay close to them, you can hack anywhere in that radius. The problem I have with this is that people have been joining my games, and I literally have to travel all the way across the map to get to where they are, and they're hacking me.
That makes no sense.
With everything I just said about the radius, that makes no sense. They have to follow me in order to do that. I shouldn't be traveling 700, 1,000 meters to get to somebody who's initiating a hack. That makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, that's something they probably have to address.
I don't know if
like
it's
in a patch update, something like that.
Yeah, I don't know if the people. I don't think the people will be cheating but I don't know how that works. So something's wrong. They really need to investigate that. It's happened to me multiple times, and one of the other complaints I have, and this is very frustrating as well, every time I join someone's game, I feel like there's tons of people around. There are tons of cars. No, I'm sorry. I'm saying this backwards. When people join me, there's tons of people, tons of cars. There's like multi-level structures that they can climb in, like a parking garage or something. When I join other people's games, no joke, they're next to a bridge and water. They're like, there's no people around. There's no cars. I hide behind rocks, and it's no wonder that they see me right away. So, but the problem is I can't. Actually, no, I take that back. I thought if I leave the game, I thought that they took points from you, but I actually think that they don't. I think that you and your opponent both just get 0. So I guess that could be, take it or leave it, but I would rather have a better system that puts me into a game where they're actually around civilization. I really don't like joining games where there's nothing around, because it's a disadvantage.
It's a disadvantage to the person who's getting hacked.
Exactly.
Hacker. Okay. All right, so I want to talk to you about another topic as well. I want to talk about visuals. What do you think about the visual downgrade? Because it's been made a big thing over YouTube and blogs and forums and stuff like that. That when Watchdogs was first displayed out to the world, it looked at this visual, massively beautiful game.
Right.
And then when it got closer and closer to release, it took a huge visual downgrade. Now, as a console, owner and player, it's not up to what I've seen when it first released. I can tell from playing from a console's perspective that the visual's been downgraded, but from a PC aspect, I don't know. How does a PC look to you? Does it look like it's been downgraded on a PC side, or this is just strictly something that console users are experiencing?
Well, I can't answer that entirely, because there's a lot of problems with the PC version regarding GPUs. So if you have an NVIDIA GPU, you're pretty much, I would say, good to go. But I have been reading reports that even people with NVIDIA cards have been, experiencing stuttering and some really bad frame rate drops, like 60 to 15. But this game was.
What was the point of all the delays then?
I have no clue. That was exactly my reaction too. This game is optimized. Most Ubisoft games are optimized for NVIDIA, so I wasn't surprised. But they had some new kind of thing. I forgot what it's called, but it's something where basically Ubisoft worked with NVIDIA almost exclusively to make this game run better for NVIDIA. And whatever the new program that NVIDIA has started with Watchdogs, it basically lets the developers work more to optimize it for NVIDIA cards. And they kind of shut the door on AMD. So AMD's standing there like, what the hell? So everyone who has an AMD card like me got poorer results just because we have an AMD card. They actually had to release a patch. AMD did. They had to release a patch on the release day of Watchdogs that would make your frame rates and everything run about 25% better. So when I first played the game, I was stuck. Yeah, I was stuck experiencing these horrible frame rates, and I was like, there's no way I should be getting this. I mean, to answer your question, the game looks good, but I don't know how good it could look on my computer, because I'm stuck playing it at medium with AA turned off and no ambient occlusion. So when you turn all these things on and set it on ultra, it probably looks really good, but I don't know, because my graphics card won't be able to handle it. And I have a pretty good graphics card, but I'll say this, and then I'll kind of leave it at that. An AMD 290X is like the top tier AMD card you can get. It costs between $500 and $700.
You know what's funny? I was looking at videos and actually on what was that? I think it was Polygon and DualShockers. They had articles about that, and they was comparing it to the NVIDIA. to the
Yep.
290X, and basically it was basically half the performance from the Nvidia card and AMD card. I'm like, hold on. I did some research. 'Cause I remember I was actually thinking about putting a 290X in my next desktop because I'm considering buying a new, custom build desktop. So I'm
Right.
like, what the hell? Like, this card is no joke either. Why is it getting nearly half the performance of an Nvidia card? It can't be that big of a difference in performance. And then
Right.
obviously you just explained that the optimization, exclusivity was given to Nvidia,
Pretty
over
much.
AMD, which is kind of,
And
I think, messed up.
It is messed up, and it makes a lot of people mad. I mean, the AMD cards are always usually more cost-friendly for consumers, and that's why people go with them. And the 290X is a really, really good card. It's very powerful, and running on Ultra with all the nice settings turned on, it was basically staying around 60 frames. But when you compare that to like a $300 Nvidia card, that's kind of like a middle tier, it was getting around the same. So that's a problem.
Yeah,
you don't want
yeah.
your top tier to be kind of being
With a mid tier
compared- exactly.
of your
So-
opponents. It's like, all right, what the hell is this? I can buy their mid tier is going head to head with your high end. It's like, hold on, something's not right
Exactly.
here.
So for Ubisoft games, like I said, they're usually optimized for Nvidia, but I think for this one, there was just some really bad problem. I mean, even I'm playing this game on medium. All my settings are set to medium, and it still looks good, but I'm sure it would look a lot better if I was actually playing it on Ultra. So the whole difference between the consoles and the PC, you can see it. I have looked at some different articles that have showed some side-by-side comparisons, and the biggest one I've seen is of Aiden's face. I don't know if you've seen this. It shows his face, and on the Xbox you can see some features like his stubble aren't as defined, and then when you move to the PS4 they're a little bit more defined, and by the time you get to the PC, which is 1080p, you can actually see that detail a lot more clearly.
Yeah.
So the graphics, I don't know if they were actually watered down from E3. A lot of people are saying they are. I didn't watch a whole lot. I try not to get too hyped for games, so I really don't know. But I will say that anything that's on E3, no matter whose booth it's at, is usually running on a PC at the time to make it look as good as possible. So it's quite possible that the footage we have seen was coming from an Ultra setting on the greatest Nvidia card that you can purchase.
Yes,
I really
think
wouldn't
that's
be
what
surprised.
more it is, because I don't understand why would you even do that. Why would you display your game at that kind of high quality, knowing damn well the average consumer is not going to see that kind of quality, and then when it gets close to release time, this is what the game is going to actually look like. But you display something that just looks out of this world.
Yep. That's how some things go. I think
like
there
a
was
bait and
something.
switch.
There was some talk about the Phantom Pain, how that was being developed. Everything they had done, this was last year. Everything they had done for it was being done on a PC, but they hadn't confirmed a PC version yet. So we were like, how does that work? And even for the newest Mortal Kombat trailer they just showed today, this morning,
Mortal Kombat 10.
yeah, they were showing how good it looked, and everyone was like, this looks so great, but they were kind of like, I hope it looks like this when it comes out. And I think they were kind of referencing Watchdogs. So we'll see. I mean, I personally think that if they want the games to look that good, I say most of the times they probably are running them on a PC, just because there's no argument you can have a lot stronger hardware. But I'm not sure how much, I don't know if they really water it down. Obviously, to fit a PS4's needs and to have everything run smoothly, they must do something. But as far as the graphics go, I still think that it looks good between the consoles.
Right.
We have to remember that this game isn't a pure next gen. It came out on all platforms, so
I agree.
they couldn't do as much as they wanted.
All right. So, all right, here's a good question. This is a little bit off topic of Watch Dogs. I just want to hear your opinion, because
Sure.
this is a crazy back and forth debate that me and my cousin have constantly, and it's always about Battlefield 4. And what you just said, he said something similar. He feels that all games that are developed on the Xbox One and the PS4 that are also developed on the 360 and the PS3 are not next gen games. They're not made for next generation. And
Yep, I
think-
agree with that.
okay, and I could have sworn, if I'm not mistaken, because I know Battlefield 4 is developed on Frostbite 3. Isn't Frostbite 3 a next generation engine?
Frostbite 3, I think you are right. I think it is Frostbite 3. Sometimes I get confused if it's Frostbite 4. But
No, it's 3.
it is a next generation engine, but the problem is, after playing on PC, you see all the different settings that there are that you can change that you can't change on a console, like
Yes.
dynamic shadows, water, reflections, all those kinds of things. So
Right.
I think that it's definitely a next gen engine, but the amount of things that they change for like the Xbox or PS3 version, it's definitely lacking some of the things that you have in the next gen version. For example, Tomb Raider Definitive. I know you played that, and did you play that on PS4?
Yeah, I actually bought. That was my first digital purchase
For the PS4, right?
for the PS4.
Okay, and for that, was that running at 60 frames?
I believe it's. Let me double check that. I don't want to say a number out there, but I believe it's 30.
Okay, I remember when it was coming out, there was the debate that Xbox One had 30 and PS4 had 60. But regardless, the definitive edition, other than being like a cash cow, they actually added some more next gen features to it, like the lighting, like spotlights and how they shine light through the rain, things that it didn't necessarily have in the older console edition. Now, I wanted to replay Tomb Raider just to see if I had that on my PC version, because the PC version of Tomb Raider, they did their homework. Like when you put it on Ultra, and they actually have a setting behind Ultra called Ultimate. I mean, it's ridiculous. It looks really, really good.
It looks that
good.
It
looks that good, and that's why when the definitive version came out, everyone on the PC was kind of like, I feel like we already have this. Like even setting.
Okay, I'm sorry to cut you off. Yeah, I just looked it up. Yeah, you were right. It says the PS4 actually had 60 frames while the Xbox was cut at 30. Interesting.
Right.
But the average frame rate was 53, and the average frame rates on the Xbox One was 29.98. So, wow.
Yeah, it just like any games, with the amount of entities that are on the screen, the frame rate can drop. But as I said, I don't have either console, so I'm not sure how it performed. But my whole point is that the definitive edition, whether it's the same engine or not, it obviously had more there to make it more next gen. It looked better. It ran better. For Battlefield 4, I think it's the same thing. It's still the same. Well, it's still a next-gen engine,
right.
But for the older generations, they take some of the things that make it as nice. That way, it can perform at its best on that console. Obviously, the PS3 is not as strong as a PS4, so while it still runs on the same engine, of course,
they basically watered it down so obviously the hardware for the PS3 can handle it. And I feel that until at least these next generation consoles hit about, I would say, like a good 20 million, both wide. I think these publishers are going to constantly release from older gen to next gen, because they're both $60, they're going to make more money. They're obviously going to make way more money on the 360 and PS3 because they're like about 80 plus million, units out in the wild. So you have about 160 potential sales as of now, but you still have 7 million PS4s and about 4 point something million Xbox Ones. You're not going to really make as much potential sales. So I'm gonna see this constantly happen until, the next gen consoles start to pick up in installment in their installment base.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it. The way I always looked at it is just like, how much life does this still have? But I guess depending from everything you just said, that might help determine how much longer are we going to keep these old consoles alive.
Yeah.
I figured that probably by this time next year, they'll have stopped, if not all, they'll have stopped a lot of AAA games from going on the older consoles, because they need to push these new consoles out. So even games like, I know Assassin's Creed Unity is a pure next-gen game. It's only Xbox One, PS4, and PC. Batman Arkham Knight is a pure next-gen game. So I think once we hit that level of this is just going to be on next-gen, we're going to get a lot better looking games. So if Watchdogs hadn't been released on everything, there's a good chance it would
have looked a lot better. But funny, just strictly from a financial standpoint, I kind of agree with them, because if you put those development costs into a game, obviously you want your return to be as big as possible.
Definitely.
And then right now, to make a game like strictly PS4, Xbox One only, you're not going to make as much money as you would.
You're losing a lot.
Yeah,
look at Titanfall. I think it was EA that regretted having it just on Xbox.
Oh yeah,
they wish that they would have.
I think that article that was really funny.
And I mean, I don't know what they were thinking. They definitely could have released it. I know that there were probably plenty of people on PlayStation who would have bought and wanted to have Titanfall.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a good game, but I would never call it like a decision maker. Like, it wouldn't be the reason I get an Xbox, but it's a pretty good game. So they definitely would have had a lot more sales, and that goes both ways. I know that PS4 has some good IPs, or PlayStation in general. If they had brought some of them over, obviously they would make more money, but then this is a whole other topic we can talk about one day. But exclusivity, it's got to go. Like, I'm tired of everything being exclusive to something I don't have. And no matter how much money Sony, Microsoft pays you, you can make a lot more if you expand. So
Yeah, you should only expect exclusivity from first-party studios, which they own. You get what I'm saying? So
Yep.
Microsoft is going to make Microsoft Studio games, and Sony's going to make their games. So that's the only exclusivity. There should be no third-party, publisher making exclusive deals with a console. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
That should be widespread, because obviously it's going to benefit you more to sell across all platforms rather than make one exclusive. I don't think Microsoft could even pay you enough to make up potential sales that you would get off, other platforms.
exactly.
I don't think that's a wise decision to do at all.
No, I don't. I just I think it's all dumb. But back to Watchdogs. What other things do you have to say?
Shoot, I guess that we pretty much addressed everything that's on my mind. I'm up about maybe 23% into the game, so that's all I can basically say as far as like the gameplay mechanics, the controls, the visuals, the story.
I gotcha. I mean,
online.
I don't want anyone to take what we say wrong. This is a good-looking game. It in no way looks bad. The only skeptical things about it are people are arguing as to whether or not it looks as good as it did when it was presented at E3 last year, or maybe it was the year before. So, I mean, it's still a good-looking game. If I could run it at Ultra, I would. But, I mean, I'm happy with it at Medium. I think that it looks fine. And I might actually run some tests to see what my frame rate and what my performance is when I put everything on high. But
I mean, by all means, it's a fun game. Like, graphics are not determined whether you buy a game or not.
No,
I mean,
they
all
don't.
Is just
and I'm glad that you agree with that.
Yeah, I completely. I was a huge fan of Left 4 Dead. I wish I had my YouTube channel back in 2009. I really wish I did, because I was a Left 4 Dead 2 fan, and the graphics on that game looks horrible.
Yep.
But yeah, I played that game faithfully. Like I had a nice dedicated team, and we always would play versus mode. And I was crack horde addicted to that game. I was horde. That game was whoring me out. And by visual means, that game does not look good at all. Like,
it doesn't, and it's because it's on the Source engine. And other games on the Source engine, like Counter-Strike, Global Offensive, those are games that all use that same thing. They all have that same kind of art style. And, I'm not a fan of it, but the people who love that game, they play completely competitively. Yeah. So they don't care about graphics. So I think
care about frame rates,
exactly.
FPS. So that's what they more prioritize. That's because the Source engine, you can easily squeeze out 60 frames even on older hardware without much issues.
I think even Left 4 Dead 2 on Xbox, I want to say it did run at 60 because they didn't have a whole lot of emphasis on visuals.
Yeah.
So graphics should always come last. I mean, that doesn't mean if the game could look good and they're just not doing it. I mean, that's not right. But I would rather have a good-looking game. But overall, I would rather take the fun game.
Pretty much, if the hardware can't squeeze out a good-looking game, let's say around the expected frame rates, basically tone on the graphics, but give me a fun game. Don't flip it vice versa.
Exactly.
Don't take away from the game and the gameplay to give me something that looks beautiful, but it's just not as fun.
Right, we all kind of experienced that with Crysis. I remember when the first Crysis came out on the computer, a lot of people couldn't handle it. I mean, even on my graphics card now, it's that good looking of a game, and it also could just not be as, coded as well as it could be to make it run more efficiently. But it's a good looking game, but, I mean, the story wasn't terrible. It was just kind of like, that was a game that ran completely off of, look how good it looks. So you don't want that. Everyone would much rather have a game like Halo where the story and characters and everything are key. It may not look as good or run as good, but it's overall a lot more people enjoy it.
Actually, I don't know what the hell 343 Industries did, but Halo 4 looked really good.
Halo 4 did look really good.
Yeah, on that Xbox
on that
360.
console.
I did not expect the 360 to pump out as good as detailed in Halo 4 as it did.
Even Grand Theft Auto 5, from what I had seen, looked really good.
Oh yeah, definitely. The water actually looked really good from what I've seen too.
Yeah, so I mean, these consoles, they can do good things, but the next gen can definitely handle more. So I am excited for some pure next gen games. As far as Watchdogs goes, the visuals look pretty good. The gameplay, obviously, I played it a lot more than you have, so I can say a little bit more, but I won't spoil anything. The story is pretty good. I won't say it's fantastic. I will say there are some pretty good lines. Some of the characters have good dialogue.
So you really do get engaged with the story. The story really engages you.
It did, yes. I will say from where it seems you are, like after Nikki gets abducted, that's where
like around Mr. Iraq. I'm trying to get towards Mr. Iraq because that's the IP address that Damon gave to me to track. That's as far as I'm going. I'm trying to infiltrate Mr. Iraq.
There's like a little rough patch at that point. I will say you have to do like this stealth mission that's just kind of okay, but after that, it kind of gets cool. Like I said, I was engaged with it, but that's not to say everyone will. I can definitely see where some of the missions, like the one I just mentioned, they're okay. You know, they're not great. You're not like, wow, this is so cool, but they're okay. And some of the characters you begin to meet are they're pretty much the same. Like, they're not terrible, but they're not great. It's just okay. But there are some missions, like there's a very apparently controversial scene and mission that you do that's coming up kind of soon.
Okay.
And that's probably the most memorable part. I think when people refer to Watchdogs' story in the future, everyone is going to remember that part of the game. So that part of the game is pretty cool. It's kind of not really disturbing, but you know, it's not good. It's like grimy and dirty. So
Okay.
that is
It's not as bad as that Azerbaijani torture scene in GTA 5 that made the news.
Actually, I don't even know if I remember that. But
Okay.
yeah, it's not that bad, and you can see that they kind of wanted to strike a nerve, but that's it. They didn't want to leave anyone like really uncomfortable. They just wanted to show, like, you know, this is how messed up some of the people in this world are.
Okay.
So it was good. I'll say that. But that was probably the best mission out of the whole game, just because of what's going on and what you're actually doing in the story. So, as I said before, I agree with the score that it's been getting everywhere. I would recommend this game to people if maybe the whole online everything starts to work and it was better optimized on the computer. But
about to ask you that too.
As far as consoles go, I would say I haven't heard any issues on the console. So if you have a console, it's good to go. I think you should get this game, most definitely. If you play on the computer like me, hopefully you have NVIDIA. If you don't, there's definitely some performance issues. There's some freezes. Your game may or may not run on Uplay. Like, I know that some of the people I've talked to still can't really get it to launch, and even after it does, it crashes. So for the PC version, I would say probably wait just a little bit longer, at least till they update the game. But it really depends. But as far as the console version goes, I think that this game is definitely worth buying.
Alrighty, and my 2 cents. Well, this is my opinion. I mean, the game is cool, but if I was you, I would just wait till I finish the game, and I will freely give this game to you. That's how I feel about it. Like, you know, like I don't feel like any attachment to it to the point where, you know, like you must go and buy this. Like right about now, the way I feel about it, I'll send my money because I'm the YouTuber, and if you're a good friend of mine, you can just borrow it, and then when you're done with it, give it to your friend. You know, like just pass it down the line.
Trade it around.
As far as that is concerned, there may be a giveaway for this game once I complete this campaign. That's how I feel about it. But by all means, it's still a great game. I'm not. Don't take that as the game is a bullshit. Don't buy a game. That's just the way I feel about it because of GTA messed it up for me. That's why. I blame Rockstar.
It's everybody's opinion.
Yes.
So definitely, I understand that.
But by all means, I completely agree with the 8 and better that everybody's giving. It's definitely worth that.
Definitely, I agree.
So I hope you guys enjoyed what we think about Watch Dogs. So soon to come, we're going to be talking about how Sony seems to be continually lying to us about giving us software release dates and delaying the living hell out of them. Not even just regular delays. They're delaying. It's like this game is coming out next year. Like that's just ridiculous.
Hopefully it's for the better. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I'll say hopefully it's for the better. But with games like Watch Dogs that came out 6 months later, I'm starting to really see it as you knew you were going to lose to Grand Theft Auto. I know it was a rumor. But now I'm really starting to think you were worried about it and you delayed it because the amount of problems this game had, especially on PC, it was plagued with problems. You had 6 extra months. What were you doing? I mean, you weren't. It doesn't look like you were polishing it. You weren't making sure it was good to go. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had all these problems.
Exactly,
so
Ubisoft. What were you doing?
I don't know what you were doing. I'm asking you guys questions. Because this is ridiculous.
And as far as Drive Club, that is ridiculous that a game is being announced as a release title and it's damn near E3 and the game is still not out. And Order of 1886, which was like, you know, a lot of people were looking forward to that game, it's not even coming out this year. What the hell, Sony? What the hell?
Yeah, so that, as you said, that will be another discussion, and you can talk about how all the next gen releases, like there's almost, I won't say no point in having a next gen right now, but if I were to get a next gen, it wouldn't be anytime soon. I'd be waiting.
Yes. Hey, I want to throw this in too. I'm not for nothing. Just from looking from the outside in, I'm all over Destiny. Destiny, we're gonna be very much well acquainted. In the meantime, once Watchdog is done, Battlefield and Kill Instinct is gonna be holding me down until Destiny. Destiny, you better not delay. I swear to God, if you delay it. I'm not trying to hit no delays, Bungie. Stay on schedule.
We can only hope so.
Alrighty, so I guess that I got everything out of my system. Any last 2 cents from you? Furthermore,
I don't think so. I mean, other than saying the PC version of this game definitely needs some work. The online, I'm not sure if it's across all platforms, but at least maybe it's just my bad luck. What I've experienced, there can be some very questionable moments that are very frustrating. But overall, when the problems aren't happening or occurring in any way, shape, or form, this is a pretty good game.
Okay, cool. I can agree with that. This is Jay Sil from SNN Tech and Albert Johnson, former known as Chunky Monkey. We'll check out guys later.
Take care.